In the next few days, Prime Minister Netanyahu will be coming to the United States for a visit to Washington. There will no doubt be a celebration of Israel prevailing over Iran, which is nothing short of miraculous. After all the smiles and greetings, the next objective will be to lay the groundwork for new security and political arrangements in Gaza and across the Middle East. Today, we'll walk through 6 points directly from the Rebbe that are relevant to what we think is on the table right now. There are talks and letters from the Rebbe backing up each of these points in depth. In order to keep this video manageable, we'll share a short clip of the Rebbe on several of the points, and for the others, we'll put links below. Number 1. There's a tendency for us to panic when there's pressure from the United States, to personalize it, to think this situation is unbearable. The President of the USA is pushing so hard and we're so indebted. The word unprecedented always seems to pop up in this context. And the question of the day/week/month becomes, will the Prime Minister of Israel stand up to the pressure or will he cave? So first off, be aware. Know that this is what we should be expecting. As the Rebbe explains it, the leader of the United States is elected to protect not the people of Israel, but of the United States. So if all works according to plan, there will be massive pressure on the Prime Minister. Yes, if all works according to plan, there will be massive pressure on the Prime Minister. The President of the United States, any president of any political persuasion, should be expected to want to make any problem disappear as quickly as possible. This doesn't make him an anti-Semite or a betrayer of Israel. He needs the quickest and shortest path to regional calm, to keep oil prices down, to end the shooting immediately. This is a feature, not a bug. Once you understand this, it should help you not to panic when that happens, and also to make sure that the Prime Minister of Israel, or any Jew, is properly prepared when, not if, the pressure, the arm twisting occurs. What we need in this situation is clarity. Clarity about how to keep Israel safe and secure precisely in this situation while managing Israel's relationship with the United States. Clarity on how to show up as a proud Jew, representing not just a nation at war, but the Jewish people as a whole, the Jewish land, the Torah, and the future of the Jewish people. Which brings us to point number 2. Understand it's not only those prime ministers throughout history whose focus was on Israel's international image, or who are softer on security, the doves, that are susceptible to this pressure. In fact, 3 of the biggest hawks amongst Israel's prime ministers have led to the greatest security concessions resulting in disaster. Prime Minister Menachem Begin gave away the Sinai Desert, along with its oil wells that were vital for security. Yitzhak Shamir put Israel on the path to Oslo, and Ariel Sharon gave away Gaza. Now, each of these prime ministers were hawks, strong military men, who had spent their lives on what's perceived as the conservative right end of the spectrum. The Rebbe makes this point very specifically in a private audience with his Lubavitcher Rebbe. There's an audio recording of it. The Rebbe's point is not to question their commitment to Israel's security, but to highlight a deeper truth. Political instincts, no matter how strong, are not enough. The only way to hold your ground is by remaining anchored in Torah and in your responsibility to the Jewish people through the ages, who you represent and what you represent. When you're clear on this, you become the immovable object, and the other parties to the negotiations will need to be flexible around your positions. And without the grounding and clarity that Torah provides, even the strongest leader will falter when the stakes and the pressure are highest. What does Torah tell us here? Number 3. According to Torah, as articulated by the Rebbe on numerous occasions, the guiding principle, the ultimate and only true way to achieve security and enduring peace is to control the territory, the terrain. And in the reverse, Torah explains, if you relinquish any form of control, you are creating a vulnerability that will be exploited. Throughout history, whenever Israel has given up control, either fully or in part, the result has not been peace, but death. This fundamental Torah principle was passed down through the generations. From King David's times, implemented by the Jewish community in the times of the Talmud under Persian rule, and codified in the Code of Jewish Law on Shabbat, chapter 329. The Torah makes clear that even the smallest infringement on terrain will result in massive security vulnerabilities. Now, this is not restricted to Israel. It's about security anywhere. Giving away control of territory might result in a short-term gain, but very soon the enemy will return with a vengeance. The hard reality is that you're going to need to control the terrain. The Rebbe points out that Torah teaches in no uncertain terms that if your adversary controls the terrain, they will use the opening to inflict increasing harm, and it will leave all of Israel vulnerable to their attacks. Which brings us to point number 4. Okay, we say, we won't give away land, but how about just some level of self-government? To use another word, autonomy. Do we really want the IDF ruling millions of Arabs? Perhaps it's a smart compromise, a way to reduce Israel's presence while mitigating the threat of terrorism. But the Rebbe warned that Torah warns. This kind of autonomy is not a kind-hearted compromise or a bridge to peace. It will be an immediate springboard to terror, God forbid. Call it self-determination, call it appointing moderates who will work with Israel to keep the peace. Whatever you call it, that is relinquishing control. You don't need to take Torah's word for this. Look at history. This has been 100% consistent.
Die Teile, was mir sagt, redet mir nicht wie Autonomy wie Chulu. Autonomy ist nie der Perisch, aber es gibt Autonomy jeden. Das gibt mir Autonomy unter die, was haben schon mit Ksas an Autonomy in Schem und in Hebron und in Ramle und Kajitze Bose. Mir sieht, wenn sie kleiden meist als ihre Boye Keach und beschaß mir gibt Autonomy auf viele Zrochis. I danach heißt das Bepeil, am is sagt zur Kopf von dem Rishus, am is dort Balabatim, wenn nicht mit Dafiken betochen. Bescheid danach kommen sie zu gehen, sagen, also sie will nicht warten für 5 Jahre. Sie genug 5 Tage. Und sie will, man soll Pläne beim Pläne wegschicken. Und dem soll man eine Reise nehmen. Worum mich da haben sie das erlebt, mit Seiche zu geben. Wo der Fall uns wollen nehmen, haben nicht. Ich das mir lachatchila Reis genommen von unter die Füße dem Boden, aber soll können dort nicht stehen, bei der ersten 5 Minuten, was jene wollen sich haben, wo sie haben bekehrt, verliert man die ganze Möglichkeit zu Eisteinen. Was wenn man stellt sich mir lachatchila, weil dazu nie gekommen, aber sie ist der Leichte, wie Rachmon el-Islam hoi Lissie. Eben mit Chasmen und mit dem Nussach, wie man will, ist Rachmon el-Islam erziehen. Es kein Sofik nicht, und es wechselt nicht. Neisef auf dem Psagdin Homer, hat das vergrößert. Pikuach Nefesh, Lebe Jerech hoi Lissie, es kein Sofik, und es wechselt nicht, alle ihr seht von der Uvdis. Was sie gewöhnt besitzer, als in Asman, Lei, Oruch, Leiachrise, wird man kommen noch mit der Twi, mit der Twi, bis von den Kizenim Shebahem, was ich will, das nicht aufbringen, alles was sei.
You can't look at what you mean when you speak of self-governance. For Israel, it might mean one thing, some measure of civil administration. But the other side will perceive it as a step toward sovereignty, weapons, war, and conquest. This disconnect, the Rebbe says, creates tangible danger. Okay, if we can't trust the residents to police themselves, how about we place willing international troops in charge of keeping the peace? Number 5. This proposal sounds quite stabilizing. Let's have a coalition of professional armies of nations that are not hostile to Israel. A force with an organized command structure committed to maintaining control. In reality, the Rebbe points out, this has never worked. You're once again giving away control of your land. If it's too dangerous for your forces to protect their Jewish citizens, why would you expect another nation to do the same? Each country has their own national interests in mind. The idea of international troops safeguarding Israel is not a new proposition. There were a bunch of tries, UNEF 1, UNIFIL, and a number of others. In 1978, right after Operation Litani, when the IDF had succeeded in nearly all of its military objectives in Lebanon, Israel agreed to pull back and leave Canada, Sweden, France, and a couple of other nations in charge of just keeping the peace. It sounded appealing, but the Rebbe called it building a false comfort that just wouldn't work. In fact, it didn't take more than a few weeks until the Rebbe had actual examples to point to.
Gewollt einschmussen, was hat noch gerät, damit das Vernehmen durch die Cheref von Scholem, die sehr gerufene Juhe, und bis dem werden das alten Farsi. Was hat gesehen, was hat zugetan, Juhe, aber schade, die Mechablim haben sich gestellt entgegen, die Französen geentfert. Als sie können nicht stellen, ist eine sehr Anschlusszowo, mit Auftreten, mit Sitzen in sehr Positionen, bis wann die Mechablim wollen Masken sein, als sie können das tun.
Of course, this area is precisely where Hezbollah came into existence within a short time of this talk. And it makes no difference if it's a friendly country. Torah declares that the presence of any foreign troops, even friendly ones, the sword of peace that the Rebbe just referred to, is viewed as the opposite of blessing. The only way to security is control of your own destiny. This is a moment of decision. We didn't speak today about Torah's standard for ending a war. That was discussed in a different video in the Iranian context, which we'll link below. The toll of the last 2 years weighs greatly upon the Jewish people in Israel and around the world. We're all yearning for this to be over. The wars on countless fronts, the unbearable suffering of the hostages, the soldiers who have sacrificed their lives, and the reservists whose lives have been turned upside down. We want it all to be over. But if we want to experience peace and not be back here again, God forbid, we're going to need to embrace what Torah tells us. If you give up control of the land, whether it's through autonomy, foreign forces, or some type of limbo, it will not lead to peace, but to another repeat, God forbid. True, enduring peace can only be built on clarity, responsibility, and truth. The strength that we know can and will happen when we're rooted in Torah's timeless guidance.